Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
He is Chris Stigall.
Chris Stigall.
I'm joined now by Chris Stigall,
host of the Chris Stigall Show.
So let's bring in talk radio host Chris Stigall.
Also, his podcast is a must-listen every day. Chris Stigall Show podcast.
And host of the Chris Stigall Show.
Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
Please welcome Chris Stigall.
The Chris Stigall podcast is presented by usmedicalplan.com. Save big money monthly and get better health coverage at usmedicalplan.com.
Well, hey there. Welcome into the Chris Stigall Show podcast. Thanks a lot for downloading this. And if I could be so bold as to ask a quick favor, I don't do this often, but if you have a second, do you mind, if you're an Apple Podcast consumer or you're a Spotify user, could you leave a written review and a 5-star review of this podcast? It helps others learn about it and spread the good word. We're so appreciative. And thanks a lot for choosing this show, as you do each and every day, consistently making this one of the top-performing news commentary podcasts out there in the universe of all there is to choose from these days. And I thank our sponsor now for years, John Ruhlman, who has been basically the principal sponsor of this show and has helped so many of you in this audience, most importantly. The reason I love doing business with John and the team at U.S. Medical Plan is because they really help people in this audience. I'm not just talking about people that I've heard from through email. I'm talking about people in my own life. Colleagues of mine, friends of mine, my own parents. I sent my parents to John and his team when they were looking for supplemental insurance with their Medicare. John saved them $400 a month. That's my senior parents, all right? I have a personal friend who had a daughter with some special health needs. He was spending tons of money a month on private health insurance for them. John got him a better plan, saved him $1,000 a month. I have colleagues that have saved hundreds of dollars a month. If you're a small business owner and you supply insurance for your employees, that's a generous thing to do. Is it really expensive? And you're thinking, maybe I can't do it anymore? Wait. Call John. Reach out to his team. They shop with 100 different private health insurers all over the country. If you're an Obamacare user, that is not getting any cheaper this year. I can already tell you it's going to go up, up, up. There are private health insurance companies out there that have much lower rates than you think and cover everything that you need. I know people assume if it's cheaper, it means less coverage. Not necessarily. Or it may be that you have the best coverage going, but you're not going to know until you reach out. Please turn to the team at usmedicalplan.com, usmedicalplan.com, or give them a call today, 877-410-4321. That's 877-410-4321 or usmedicalplan.com. This is truly one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. But, you know, it's a Democrat on a Thursday, so what else is new? Glad to have you here, folks. Welcome in on this Thursday edition of the Stigall Show. Our telephone number, 855-STIGALL. How desperate are things for the Democrat Party exactly? Well, they've turned to a president renovating the White House as their chief attack line because every week it's something new and nothing sticks, and so they're going to try this now. You remember once upon a time we were fighting about Doge and they were out there singing and screaming about him gutting USAID and other non-governmental organizations with Doge? Remember when they thought that would stick? I'm forgetting. It escapes me the number of things. You could probably add to the list of things in the course of the last, 9-10 months now that they've been shrieking about, trying to get you to care about, and it never works and it never sticks and they move on to the new thing. So this week, what is it? It's the $300 million renovation to the East Wing of the White House. This is supposed to now get people really animated. Now, why is this not going to work? First question, why is this not going to work? Fast Eddie, have you thought much about why, for Democrats, this line of attack on the president, remodeling the White House for the 90,000 square foot ballroom, why is it not going to work?
I think first and foremost because it's not being paid for by tax dollars.
Precisely. That's a great one. Here's another one. How many Americans actually go to that White House? How many Americans have actually walked through or seen that White House? How many Americans have a connection to that White House or have deep feelings about it as a structure? Genuinely speaking, how many?
I don't think
most. Half? Many? I don't think so either. This is personal to who? Democrats who hate Trump and people who have been there, who go, who regularly lunch there and dine there and hang out there and feel like big shots. I've never been in the East Wing of the White House. Have you, Ed? You ever visited the East Wing? Anybody you know ever been in the East Wing of the White House?
No one that I know has been in the East Wing of the White House.
I've been in the Rose Garden. I haven't since they've paved it. That's really made them mad that he's put pavers are not the word, whatever you call in suburban terms, it's called pavers. Jessica Tarlov says it looks like where they'd serve kids chicken fingers now. Do you object to the... I took a Harumph Society poll yesterday if you object to the improvements the president is making. I heard Glenn Beck talking about all the gilding. Ed, does the gilding bother you? The golden trim, the ornate golden things that he's put on the Oval Office and on the portico wall there with the pictures of the presidents, the Biden auto pin photo next to all the photos of all the other. Does that stuff bother you?
See, I'm not a huge fan of gilding. It's just kind of a style thing. I know Trump is. I've seen like Mar-a-Lago and I've seen Trump Tower. I'm not a fan of that style, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't keep me up at night.
Now, Beck was explaining this because Beck was apparently given a private tour with the president, and Beck was on his show talking about this, and I saw a clip of it yesterday, and I thought it really intriguing. And he said it this way. The president said, "Do you think I just do this gilding stuff for fun because I like it?" And Beck was kind of like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, I do it because do you know who comes through here? Guys who come from these opulent palaces with lots and lots of gilding and chandeliers. I do this. And doesn't this make more sense, Ed, now? He explains to Beck, the reason I decorate the White House this way is to make it look very opulent. So that crown heads and princes and all these leaders and these Middle Eastern people who come from these big, expansive castles and wealthy, gilded enclaves, they come to the White House and they're impressed. Trump says this is the greatest home court advantage and I want to dress it up. That's why I do this. Make sense?
That makes sense. It's a style thing, but I totally get it. He wants to impress.
Yes, he is convinced, and it sure seems, as many visits as he's hosted, that it's working. These people are coming through, and they're pretty impressed by what he's doing. So he says, for decades and decades, presidents have wanted a large entertainment space to host real, substantive, big-shot galas and balls and things like this. He's building a 90,000 square foot ballroom that will hold approximately, he says, 1,000 people when it's all said and done. A party of 1,000 at a time. And he says presidents long since before him have wanted this thing, and he's going to deliver. And he's doing it, to your point, free of any tax dollars whatsoever. It's all private donations. Today they're freaking out that it was originally priced at $250 million, and now it's priced at $300 million. It's like, why should we care what it costs? The taxpayers aren't paying for any of it, so what's it matter if it's $500 million when it's all said and done? He says private donors and he are paying for it. Okay, fine. All right, so now they think they can make you hysterical, and we touched on this a little bit. Hillary Clinton, Pocahontas, we touched on this. They are showing you pictures of the... Does this bother you? He is demolishing, effectively, from what I gather, and the pictures that I've seen, he's just tearing down the existing East Wing structure to rebuild it with the extended ballroom. And he was kind of explaining this when the LSU team was visiting earlier in the week. He said, we're going to make a great kind of entryway, kind of a holding area for people, and then a ballroom that they can spill into for formal dinner. He's basically redesigning the entire East Wing. Does this upset you, Fast Eddie? Serious question, and if it does, you can tell me so. I don't care.
It doesn't, no.
It does not bother you.
No.
So you don't have like an emotional attachment to the East Wing? You see these pictures of the giant claw tearing down the that doesn't alarm you? Because Democrats, they're posting this photo like it should haunt your dreams. I'm seeing leftists, I hate this man. I hate him. He's destroying our house. And I think, is this working?
Destroying?
Or is this just a thing?
Destroying, or how many people have tried to destroy the White House in 2020 when Trump was there? How many people have tried to breach the property or firebomb it? Come on.
How about when they lit the church aflame?
Yeah. Right
across the Lafayette Square. Yeah, I mean, before Trump, he had to come out with the scrub brushes and the paint to scrub all the graffiti off all the statues they're trying to tear down. The American left has no reverence for history. They're trying to destroy history. The American left has absolutely no interest in preserving anything about American history. They want to destroy, 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 which is what I was talking about yesterday, and I wrote about in the Harum Society yesterday. President Trump is building this better. He's building back better. Remember, that's what I think Obama used to call it, the Build Back Better bill, or was that Biden? I don't remember which. Build Back Better.
Biden.
Well, yeah, that was Biden. Okay, well, Trump is actually building something, and he's building it back better. He builds things up. And so, yeah, he's got to tear down the East Wing. Now, well, if you want to hear some of this, I mean, it's just so stupid. Give me number 16 here. This is the Democrat Chris Murphy, lunatic from Connecticut, screeching about it. Listen.
No, listen, there's a lot of history that has taken place in the East Wing, and it was just destroyed without any conversation in the American public, without any consent of Congress. It was absolutely illegal. And yeah, that visual is powerful because you are essentially watching the destruction of the rule of law happen as those walls come down. It is just a symbol about how cavalier he is about every single day acting in new and illegal ways. That's the story with the killings in the Caribbean as well. The president just doesn't believe that any law applies to him, that he can destroy federal property, that he can steal from American citizens, that he can kill with impunity, that he can throw anyone in jail. We are not living in a functional democracy any longer. It's not too late to save it, but it is just important to acknowledge that we aren't on the precipice of losing our democracy. We are losing it every single day. We are not a functional nation with a rule of law any longer, and those toppled walls in the East Wing are a pretty stark reminder of that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is he now taking up with narco terrorists? Did I just hear that correctly, Ed? They've been defending Abigail Garcia and having cocktails with him in El Salvador. Now they're defending the narco terrorists. Have I got that right?
That's correct, yes.
The people on drug boats from Venezuela are now to be afforded due process through the United States. Have I heard that correctly?
Absolutely, especially when they're bringing drugs, yes.
So tearing down the East Wing has driven them now to defend narco terrorists. Wow. I mean, they are teetering on absolute insanity if they're not already there. Okay, look. Now, a cursory search, and I put this up last night before I went to bed. Just a stupid cursory Google search or an AI ask in the, whatever, Grok, Chat GPT. Just ask, have presidents remodeled or demolished the White House previously? It spits out very quickly and easily a recent history of this. In fact, one of the presidential libraries has a full display of the total destruction of the White House, not but 70 years ago. I'll run down some of it just in case you don't know it. And, of course, your call's at 855-STIGAL if you want to get in here today. Head over to chrisstigall.com if you'd like to check in with me on social media or join the conversation at the Harum Society, where I got to check that poll and see if Harumpers like this remodel or not. Hang on. More in a minute. Sit tight. Morning, Cincinnati. By the way, they're about to sack your police chief there in Cincinnati. Or did, I guess, put them on administrative leave. Thanks for watching on the Salem News Channel, if you are. Thanks for listening on the Ticket, 1450 AM, if that's where you listen, and on great radio stations like it all over the country. We're looking at downtown Cincinnati, where the police chief there, Teresa Thedage, has been on the job since 2022. Cincinnati officials said this week they're placing her on administrative leave over her alleged failure to bring the city's crime rate down. Now, I don't know who governs Cincinnati. I can't be sure, but I would guess it's mostly Democrats. True or false, Ed? Do you think that's a safe bet?
Oh yeah. This is the woman that let that couple just get beat up.
City manager Sherrill Long said she's been placed on paid leave pending an internal investigation into the effectiveness of her leadership. Well, now I thought that you're just supposed to let lawlessness unfold. I thought Democrats were in favor of just letting people be beaten up in the streets. I didn't think you were supposed to encourage police to actually do their jobs. In fact, I thought that was totalitarian or something. I mean, they're trying to help track ICE now, the Democrats are. You're telling me Democrats in Cincinnati have laid off their police chief? That's quite a development. I didn't know Democrats did that to their police chiefs. Ed, don't you think that's quite a bit of news?
It is. I mean, but it's an election year, so I'm not really shocked. You know?
All right. By the way, I looked at the Harumph Society polling. I asked yesterday in the newsletter. You can be a part of it if you want to. Go to chrisstigall.com and get signed up. Do you like the renovations, additions, and decor changes made by the President and First Lady to the White House? Of the Harumphers who have voted so far, and I gave them these choices, yes, it's a vast improvement, or mostly, some of it seems over the top, or no, I don't like it, it's obnoxious, or I have no opinion. Overwhelmingly, Harumphers say, yes, this is a vast improvement. Coming in second says, mostly, but some seems over the top. 4% said they had no opinion whatsoever of it. But not a single Harumpher said they disliked what President Trump was doing or thought it obnoxious. Not a single Harumpher. They said some seems over the top. About 13% of them said some of it is a little much. I guess probably like you, Ed, I would guess it's the gilding that probably bothers them. Maybe some of them think the auto pen photo is distasteful in the portico. You either think that you're one of two people. You either think that's hilarious and you appreciate his sense of humor, or you think that's distasteful and beneath the dignity of the White House. Where do you fall, Ed?
Oh, my gosh, I love it. I absolutely love it, yeah. No, I mean, think about it, Chris. Like, didn't Bill Clinton's team remove all the W's from the keyboards in the White House?
Of course they did.
Yeah, these jerks. Screw them.
Yeah, the Clintons tried to take flatware, among other things, when they were moving out. The Clintons left a dry cleaning bill that was rather hefty by the time they left. So, I mean, you know, I love, you know, the integrity of the White House. Yes. Let's talk about the Clintons and how much they respected the Oval, shall we? How about the cocaine found in the White House? So, let me play this for you before I move off this. Josh Hawley in clip 32 here. Give me Josh Hawley just blasting CNN over this yesterday.
What about just uprooting this is an iconic building?
Mono, I will just say this. I made this point yesterday, that I hear all of a sudden from my liberal friends that they're very concerned about our history. Really, these are the same people who tore down every statue they could get their hands on in the last 4 years. Christopher Columbus, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt. They didn't have any concern for history then. Now all of a sudden, like, oh, the facade of the East Wing is iconic. Oh, give me a break. I mean, give me a break.
I couldn't agree with the senator more. And I did just a cursory search. You don't need to look too far. In fact, it was just a couple of summers ago. You know, I went to the Truman Library. The Truman Library in a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. You should know. If you've not been, you should go. And you will be struck, by the way, at what Harry Truman's presidency as a Democrat looks like compared to Donald Trump's, which is very, very similar, I'll just say. Donald Trump is a Harry Truman Democrat of 1950s. The parallels are striking. Do you know that Harry Truman gutted the entire White House? Do you know that? The structural integrity of the whole building was about to collapse. So he redid the whole thing. You know, Ed, where they come out and they wave with the bunny? The president comes out with the bunny and they wave on that balcony. Oh, yeah. Do you know that Harry Truman added that, Ed? That was not even there until 1952. It's called the Truman balcony. Did you know that?
No idea. That history with the White House.
That's been in my father's lifetime.
Wow.
That whole thing on the front of the White House where the bunny and everybody waves, that was built by Harry Truman.
Interesting.
So it's so dishonest and stupid. This audience knows it, but that's just one example. There are many more. Good to be with you. Catch the Stigall Show anytime, anywhere, even if you miss it live at the podcast. I appreciate your support of the podcast, by the way. I don't talk about it nearly enough, and I should. We had a great one Monday, even though I was not here. We had two fabulous conversations from Monday that I really recommend you go listen to if you didn't get a chance. But each and every show, each and every day, you can find the podcast at chrisstigall.com. You can get it visually if you'd like. We slap it up on YouTube. It's at snc.tv. You can watch it off the app, the Salem News Channel app, if you watch the show that way for free. However you get it, we're just grateful that you do. No, just to put a bow on this, I don't mean to belabor it, but I do think it's important that you know this, just in case you don't. Just the next person that you hear pretending to be apoplectic about the president remodeling the East Wing or tearing it down. In 1814 through 1817, Madison and Monroe did a full rebuild of the White House. Of course, the original structure burned down in the Civil War, too. You should know that. I mean, so it's like this house has never been... I don't... Like, I think there are people that believe that this was the original structure as built, and it's just stood there the entire time. It's not true. It's been gutted and rebuilt several times, as a matter of fact. Teddy Roosevelt in 1902 gutted the interior, built a new West Wing. I told you about the Truman Library, at least a couple of years, 3 years ago or more. I don't know if they've changed out the display, but their whole theme was Truman's Reconstruction. And he secured dollars, by the way, through Congress. He actually went to Congress and asked them if he could do it. They said yes. He gutted the entire White House. I mean, gutted it. In fact, they were so overzealous in gutting the White House, he had to go in there and stop them. I can't remember exactly what it was they were going to tear out. And he had, whoa, boys, easy. We got to maintain some of the. So they maintained the outside structure, but they had it completely redesigned, the entire interior rebuilt and preserved. Kennedy's. Then the Kennedy family, Camelot, they came in, and Jacqueline Kennedy underwent for 2 years total historic preservation and restoration with decor and furniture. And by the way, you can learn all this stuff. There's a little. Remember I told you a couple of weeks ago when I went to the White House Visitor Center, and I bought all the ornaments. There's a whole, it's a brand new thing, and it tells the whole history of the place, burned to the ground, being gutted, renovated, rebuilt several times over. It's so silly. But anyway, you know that. I guess lastly, I'll let President Trump, if you didn't hear him yesterday address this, he was peppered with questions about it, and he said, look, I don't understand why people are so wound up about it. I did tell everybody about it. Number 30 here.
The ballroom. I think there'll be nothing like it. And it's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors to it. The government's paying absolutely nothing. We're also working with the military on it because they want to make sure everything's perfect. And the military is very much involved in this. They want to make sure everything is absolutely beautiful. You can see the kind of interiors that we're talking about. That's an interior of the ballroom. And it's the highest level. And you see it goes beautifully with the White House. I mean, the mix is beautiful. So over the years, many presidents have made changes. This obviously would be the biggest change, but this was something they've wanted for at least 150 years.
You know what I think it really is? As I look at these photos, if you haven't seen them, you ought to check it out. And actually they have a little model, like a desktop 3-dimensional model of it that the president's been displaying too. It's going to be a big honkin' ballroom. And they can't tear that down. And they know it. And they know previous presidents have wanted this. And they know it's going to be a space that Democrats and Republicans will use. They know it is highly preferable to bringing in tents with women in high heels walking through muddy grass. They know. What they know is this is going to be a chunk of building that will stand for years and years and years to come after we're all gone, and that's what they really hate. Donald Trump is improving this building in a really grand fashion in a way that they're not going to be able to ignore. In fact, someday, some stupid talk show host is going to be going through the White House Historical Society's tour, and they're going to have to talk about the Trump edition. And he's going to buy ornaments. 855 Stigall if you want to get in here. Rob is in Pennsylvania to kick off the show today. Hey, Rob, I'm glad you called. Good morning. Welcome in.
Good morning, sir. I've been thinking about this a lot, and with all this shutdown, the lies that the left is telling, and I just think I think part of me thinks they were so used to having the media in their pocket, and now that we have social media and the people are able to do more research and find out what the real truth is, they're discovering that that the left lies. They just manipulate language. and they constantly lie about everything and spin the truth. Everything is about spin with them. And on a second note, I can only feel that Barack Obama right now, if you remember back during the White House press dinner, I guess when he was his last dinner, he showed what Trump would do if he ever got in the White House and put the big golden T on the front of the White House in lights. So I really think right now, I wonder what must be going through his mind. Any
of this bother you, by the way, Rob? Does the paving, the rose garden, the flagpoles, the gilding, the big ballroom, the pictures on the portico, any of that bother you?
No. Anybody that's ever paid attention to politics knows that every president does something to the White House. The Obamas, they got the vegetable garden and the basketball court. I believe I might be Truman or Johnson, a bowling alley or a pool. Yeah. Going all the way back, I think 4 or 5 times there was major renovations going through there.
Well, the West Wing exists because of Roosevelt. I mean, the West Wing as it is not even really all that old, frankly. Rob, great call. Thank you so much for it. I appreciate it. Speaking of Democrats lying, sometimes they accidentally tell the truth. This is quite a humdinger yesterday. So Speaker Johnson apparently has a television set up outside the Speaker's chambers in the Capitol building. Okay? He posted this, I guess, on social media yesterday. I saw it going around on X. There's a TV sitting right outside the door of his office, and it's just playing what I'm about to play for you on a loop. Over and over and over again. It's Catherine Clark, Democrat from Massachusetts. This is the number 2 Democrat in the House, right behind El Jefe. All right, so she is Democrat House leadership, Catherine Clark. And here's what she says about the shutdown in number 15.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
We take the suffering of families very seriously, but it's one of the few leverage times we have? Uh-oh. Let's hear that one again, if you please, Paulie. This is on a loop outside the Speaker's office right now.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have.
Oh, my. Do you know that the Clinton people are begging Schumer and El Jefe not to endorse Mondami? Have you heard this? The Clintons are begging. They're New Yorkers now. She's lived in like every state of the union at some point. She Arkansas, Illinois. She ran in New York. But anyway, they're New Yorkers. They don't like this Mondami guy, and they believe that he's going to drag the whole party down with them. They're looking down the pike, and what they see with this Mondami guy is that every Republican running for every office everywhere, if he ends up running away with this guy is going to be hanging around the neck of every single Democrat. You agree with the Clintons, Fast Eddie?
Yes, I agree with the Clintons. Yes.
And do you think it will work for Republicans? Do you think this guy is going to be bad news for Democrats at large?
Not as much as... No, I don't think he's going to be as bad news as they think.
Incidentally, from the Washington Times, just quickly on him, Democrat voters in America's largest city are ready to elect socialist Zoran Mondami as mayor. They think socialism and communism have gotten a bad rap and are now the future of the city and party. In a sense of, they did a series of on-the-street interviews. New Yorkers told the Washington Times Mr. Mondami's socialist-style agenda comes from the heart and will help regular Americans, especially racial minorities. It's notable, the demographic makeup of New York now. I just came across that yesterday. It's on purpose, of course, what's going on here. I just saw that I think now people who are non-Native American, That is people who have not been born in the United States but are now making up the population of New York. I think this, and I'll have to find it during the break. I thought I had it here. But the stat is something like most of New York now, by I think over 50%, are non-original citizens of the United States. And they're the ones embracing Mandami. So the transformation that we've talked about for decades, the Democrat Party's ironic destruction of the United States, the importation of people from all over the world, most times illegally. This is the design. You bring in a bunch of people from who knows where, oftentimes undocumented, give them everything they need, and what do they do in turn? They reward people like Zoran Mandami. And so the Clintons are sounding the alarm here. House Minority Leader El Jefe and Chuck Schumer over in the Senate choosing to endorse New York City Democrat Zoran Mandami at this stage in the race would demonstrate weakness, says one Democrat commentator. With less than 2 weeks until Election Day, the New York Democrats have yet to endorse Mandami's mayoral campaign, despite the self-identified Democrat socialist securing the party's nomination over Cuomo in June. This Schroff guy is his name. He's a Democrat commentator. He said it would show a level of weakness that they were bullied into endorsing him over Cuomo. Mandami is certainly on track to win this election without the endorsement. It sort of gives a weapon to Republicans across the country as we head into 2026 midterms to label Democrats that are much more moderate, which are, as Democrat socialists or communists, as Trump mislabels them and mislabels Mandami. So there are a good number of Democrats that are actually quite alarmed about this lunatic. And they think, and many of the Clintons are actually warning and worrying that Democrats are walking a plank with him. We'll see. By the way, there are others. He's just one. Jasmine Crockett is still popping off. She wants a future. I hope she hangs around. Good morning, Orlando. Thanks for listening on AM 950, The Answer. Let me remind you, there are only 7 days remaining in our campaign to help raise donations for the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews and the awesome work that they're doing for Israel. Even as President Trump's peace plan is being implemented, we've been in touch with Yael Eckstein, the president of the fellowship, talking with us often, keeping us up to date on how things are going. She says even in peacetime, there is still much to be done. Listen.
Well, Chris, life right now in Israel is on one hand so beautiful in the sense that we continue to live the promise of God. So life right now, Chris, in Israel is complex, is complicated, but we are here because it's God's will, because we believe we're protecting the entire free world and standing in this Judeo-Christian values.
I have to tell you, this is deeply significant to me at this particular time because I am, as I told you this weekend, leading a discussion in our Sunday school class of Romans chapter 9. And if, those of you who are biblical scholars, I'm not going to try to parse it here because I am not, but I am spending a lot of time in Romans 9 and then 10 and 11, obviously. And those 3 chapters in discussion of God's promises to Israel, they ought to hit home. And by the way, with the healthy discussion that's going on right now about the history of the Middle East and Israel and our lineage and our spiritual responsibility, I take it seriously. If you take the scripture seriously, check out Romans 9. Get started and you'll see. Giving this peace plan a shot to get fully implemented is going to take some time. So if you go to chrisstigall.com and click on the banner right at the top of my webpage, you will see a big red banner that says Israel still needs help. You can tell the people of Israel that you're with them by supporting the fellowship today. That banner at the top of my homepage, again, it's chrisstigall.com. Just click on it and you can give there. There's also a number you can call to give today if you'd rather at 800-982-8811. And I've mentioned that there's a really generous fellowship supporter who is doubling anything you give right now. This week, doubling anything you give. So whatever your generous donation can be, $2, $5, $10, know that it will be doubled when you give it, either over the phone or at chrisstigall.com and you click on the banner. Here's the number one more time, 800-982-8811. And the fellowship thanks you in advance for your support. You know, speaking of these radical left-wing Democrats and destruction, Josh Hawley mentioned it so well. Tearing down. A friend of mine reached out to me to point out that what did Barack Obama do to the White House? He built a basketball court. President Trump is building a facility for people to mingle and get together to do deals. Barack Obama was a famous isolationist. He built a basketball court. That's all he added to the White House. He hated being around people. He didn't do deals. He didn't even like. He liked the trappings of being president. He certainly loves to make money off of being president. He loved to look down his snoot at everybody. But Barack Obama didn't have any interest in governing or meeting with heads of state. He hated people. The Democrat Party hates anybody that's not like them. They keep this death cult stuff. They keep it up. They won't stop. I don't know if you saw the latest now from this woman. What is her name out there in Texas? I just had this a second ago. Where'd it go? Oh, yes. No. Hang on. What was her name? Yolanda? I just had that, Ed. Where the heck was that? Sorry.
One of the cuts?
Yeah. Which one was it? Do you remember?
Oh.
I wanted to play this. This is the Texas Democrat.
Yolanda Jones.
Who went on CNN.
Yeah.
Yeah, just give me. Do you have that?
24.
Paul? 24? Okay, thank you. Give me number 24. This happened on CNN yesterday.
I'm from the hood, okay? So when a bully comes, like, if there are no rules, you literally have to figure it out. So Donald Trump has changed things, and people trying to do what's always been done is not going to work. And I think that's why Democrats are losing black people. That's why they're losing poor people, because poor people, all they want is for us to fight. So if you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck, because we can go back and forth fighting each other's faces. You've got to hit hard enough where they won't come back. And so, for the same way I went to New York and spoke with Governor Kathy Hochul and said, if they're going to try to wipe us out in Texas, we need to wipe out every Republican in New York, in California, in Illinois. So no one can make me feel bad about fighting for the people that I represent, because the people that I represent need someone who's willing to go in the ring and fight for them, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay, for those of you that are just listening and can't see that, she made the slash across the throat thing, which in the NFL gets you suspended, I believe, or at least fined. You can't even do that in an NFL game. She just did that on cable news, a Democrat representative. How about that? By the way, this poll, among American New Yorkers, Andrew Cuomo leads. Among foreign-born New Yorkers, Mondami leads by 62%. How about that? That tells you everything you need to know. Ron DeSantis posted that poll yesterday. So among foreign-born New Yorkers, Mondami is running away with it 62%. Among New Yorkers who were born in the United States, in the state of New York, Cuomo leads by a lot. That tells you quite a bit, doesn't it? I tell you what, I'm going to get into this ICE tracker business coming up. We have John Hayward just around the corner, too. But the Democrats are not only, they've pledged their undying loyalty to illegal aliens, to apparently narco-terrorists, and they are now tracking ICE as the domestic enemy. This is their plan. This is what they're running in the midterms. And, of course, Mondami in New York. We'll see how that all works out. Hey there, it's Chris, back on the phone with my dentist and friend Bob Spinato at Williamsburg Dental in Broomall, Pennsylvania, just off the Blue Route with new technology. You have not just new associates, but they brought new technology into the business to make it a little easier for patients.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time in dentistry. We have now introduced a three-dimensional x-ray called a CBCT scan in our office, which allows us to diagnose and things earlier for patients. My daughter is placing a lot of implants in the past that referred out. It's now being done in-house. And we also, we've been using dental or computer scanners for taking impressions for crowns for about the last 2 to 3 years. We now have introduced the next step, which is a milling machine, and we can now make crowns in the office. Things can be completed in the same day as opposed to having a temporary crown put on and 3 weeks later coming back and having a permanent crown put on. It's really a game changer, and it's a time saver for our patients to not have to make multiple visits to the office.
Pick up the phone or go online, make that appointment, 610-353-2700 or williamsburg-dental.com. Great to be with you, folks. Welcome in. Looking live at Key West this morning. That's a beautiful resort. friend of mine stayed there. I couldn't afford it, so I visited my friend who stayed at that beautiful resort. We have a camera. If you're listening on 96.9 or 102.5 in the Key West area, grateful to have you guys along throughout the beautiful state of Florida. Thanks for listening on great radio stations like those all over the country. Some 400 plus affiliates now, the Stigall Show, and growing each and every month. Thanks to every radio station that has made us now a destination for your morning. You know, that's the thing. Every station has to make their own decision whether or not they're going to carry the show. It's not like I can run around and force people to start listening to the show and carrying the show. People on the ground in their respective radio stations and management teams make the decision. All right, should we air Chucklehead or should we air a different show? And all of them that have landed on this show and offered it to you, I can't thank you enough. You know, being a new show, it's always a roll of the dice whether people are going to take to it or not, and we're so thankful that so many have. So we always want to say hello and thank you to every single one of the radio stations that carry the Stigall Show. Whether you're listening to us live, some of them do it on tape delay. I know some of them only give you a couple of hours of the show, or maybe in some cases 1 hour of the show. Sometimes you hear it later, sometimes whatever. Whenever you hear us, whenever you're listening, thanks for being a part of it. You can always catch up on the show at chrisstigall.com. Follow along on social media. If you're not following on X yet, that's the place to be. I mean, that's where, you know, we spend most of our time gathering a lot of our news, and we see most of the stuff all day long. And now that we know that, you know, real people can be heard on the platform instead of it all being governed by left-wingers controlled by Washington, D.C., it's actually a great place for dialogue. Hope you'll follow along on X. Go to chrisstigall.com or directly to X and look for Chris Stigall, ChrissStigall, and follow along. Yesterday, the United States struck another drug smuggling vessel. I guess it technically happened Tuesday night. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirming the strike and that it was directed by President Trump. The vessel was known by our intel to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling, transiting along a known narco-trafficking transit route and carrying narcotics, he said on X. There were 2 narco-terrorists aboard the vessel during the strike, which was conducted in international waters. Both terrorists were killed and no U.S. forces were harmed in the strike. Now, apparently, as we played earlier in the show, Chris Murphy, the senator from the senator from Connecticut, the Democrat, he's very upset about this. He thinks that these narco-traffickers should be afforded some kind of due process. Well, the fellows in the White House aren't backing off of this. Yesterday, when asked about it, Marco Rubio had this to say in clip 31.
Well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters.
The boat. Do a strike in the United States, or if
well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs, and they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We track them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. You know, if you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
It reminded me of not too terribly long ago when we had that pretend old man president, the husk, Joe Biden. Remember the Chinese spy balloon? I was just thinking about the Chinese spy balloon listening to Marco Rubio give that answer yesterday. 8 days, a foreign object floated directly over our airspace, and that stupid old man just allowed it. And then I think they finally dealt with it once it was over the coast of South Carolina or something, when they finally shot it down or whatever. Versus narco-terrorists coming through international waters, chock-a-block full of drugs, ready to flood the zone and this country with all kinds of who knows what. And President Trump says, oh, no, buddy, not on my watch. This guy's deadly serious, too. President Trump is not screwing around. This is clearly an agenda item of his. Listen to what he thought. I haven't heard him talk much about the Colombian president, Petro, at least not lately. Boy, yesterday he did. Number 28. Listen to this.
We're talking about now Columbia, the country, not the university. Yes. Go ahead. He said what?
He said that if you won't change, then perhaps you need to be gotten rid of. Would you view that as a threat?
Well, he's a thug and bad guy. He's a guy that is making a lot of drugs. We've just, as of today, stopped all payments going to Colombia. the country Colombia. Also, the school Colombia. No, we settled. We made a settlement with him. But no, he's a thug, and he's a bad guy, and he's hurt his country very badly. They're doing very poorly, Colombia. They make cocaine. They have cocaine factories. They grow all sorts of crap that's drugs, bad drugs coming into the United States, goes generally through Mexico. And he better watch it or we'll take very serious action against him and his country. His country is, what he has led his country into is a death trap.
Had you ever heard a serious discussion about narco traffic in the United States before this administration? Ed, do you remember a serious conversation ever in the past 2 Democrat presidencies? I don't remember. In fact, hell, they may have been drug running for the Biden White House. The dime bag found there, right? That may have been their stash. Who knows?
I'm going to be honest, Chris, not to plead complete ignorance here, but I didn't even know the term narco-terrorist before this week.
Yeah. And by the way, Trump said, I'll carry out military strikes. I'll go one better. I'm not screwing around here. Listen to this in 29.
This is a national security problem. They killed 300,000 people last year, drugs, these drugs coming in. They killed 300,000 Americans last year, and that gives you legal authority. We have a national security, really, I will say this. When you look at the people we're dealing with, and we know them, we know the people coming in, we know the boats, we know everything else. We're allowed to do it. It's in international waters. If we don't do it, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands of people. Now, they'll be coming in by land a little bit more because they're not coming in by boat anymore. There are no boats in the water. There are no more boats. We know the boat almost immediately. You know, it's pretty unusual when you see somebody with a fishing rod and 5 engines on the back of the boat. You know, you don't need that to go fishing. Wait. And we will hit them very hard when they come in by land. And they haven't experienced that yet, but now we're totally prepared to do that.
Yeah. Now, what are the Democrats doing? We played for you earlier Chris Murphy defending narco-trafficking terrorists and said they should be afforded due process or something. The president is acting illegally by blowing these drug lords out of the water. So that's Chris Murphy's take. What else are Democrats doing? They're defending illegal aliens running amok in the country and making criminals out of ICE agents. They've now created an ICE master tracker. They're creating technology to help people track federal agents trying to crack down on illegals. Listen to this in number 18.
I shared this with the mayor. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, the Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on.
That's amazing. Not surprising, but amazing. A master ICE tracker. An app. This reminds me of now it's been uncovered that homes with Trump signs were passed over for federal aid during natural disasters. The Democrats are sincerely the enemy of the American people. They hate you if you are not like them. They want you, and according to Miss, what was her name, Yolanda, whatever, down there in Texas, again, I'll slit your throat if she slashes throats on cable news. They're a death cult. They hate your gut. I mean, listen to James Carville. This guy has just lost his mind, too. Number 14. Listen to the way they talk.
You know what we do with collaborators,
right?
And I think these corporations. My fantasy dream is that this nightmare ends in 2029, and I think we ought to have radical thing. I think they all ought to have their heads shaven. They should be put in orange pajamas, and it should be marched down Pennsylvania Avenue, and the public should be invited to spit on them. The universities, the corporations, the law firms, all of these collaborators should be shaved, pajamaed, and spit on.
Okay.
Disney?
So we have a president that is trying to secure our borders. He's blowing drug boats out of the water. He cares about people, We have a president that is showing time and again he cares about the American people. No one's done this. There's never been a president with a bigger heart for the American people than this president, in my view. And what do the Democrats give in response? Slit throats, slash throats, march, spit on them, put them in jumpsuits, parade them down Pennsylvania Avenue, and make spectacles of them. Let's turn ICE agents into enemies. Create trackers so that you know who they are. Encouraging shooting at them, ramming vehicles into them. The Democrat Party has declared war on civil society in this country. They just have, and they're proud of it, and they're going to continue running on it right into the next midterm elections. We'll see if the American people reward it or turn out against it. Good to have you here. Telephone number 855 Stigall if you want to weigh in. Head over to chrisstigall.com to get, some of you are joining on X. I don't ask enough. I guess I should just ask this more. Maybe I should just straight up ask. If you're on X and you don't follow the account, the Chris Stigall account, why don't you do it? Would you join me on X? I'd love to have you. Every time I ask, people do it. I don't hump it enough, Fast Eddie. I guess I should ask more often. I'd love to have you aboard the X account. I'm trying to grow that thing. Because I'll be honest with you, that thing in terms of algorithm, ever since the Biden era, it's just stagnated. X used to be, for me, Twitter before that, it just took off like a rocket. And then Biden took over and collaborated with, what's his name, that used to own it. The guy that had the ring in his eyebrow. Jack something or other. And whatever they did on the backside of it, it never recovered after that. They set algorithms or whatever, and it just never... it just sat. It sat still and stopped growing. It grew like a weed for years, and then it just stopped. So I'm algorithmically, social media, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what's been done there. And you'll never convince me it's all been ironed out.
No.
I don't know, can't prove it, but it's just weird. And I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it, but every now and again when I bring it up, I'll be honest, it still irks me. I used to play ball with it a lot more than I do now. Yeah. A friend of mine said, well, you ought to just post more. The algorithm will reward you. I said, I don't want to take on like a third job with the hopes that the account will start growing. You know what I'm saying, Ed?
Yes. No, I had a social media call yesterday, Chris, and honestly, X across the board is performing the worst for anybody, like just in general right now. Like it's performing as far as people in the content space that we're in.
Meaning getting it shared and people watching and liking and interacting with their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, I will do the humble solicit here. I mean, understanding though that I'm not, it's I just some people get their egos really bruised if their social media is not performing. My ego is not tied up in social media. I know that in 2025 that's your stock value now, whether your social media is robust or not. But I don't know. Call me old-fashioned. Content still matters on this show. 855 Stigall is how you reach us. John Fetterman, the Pennsylvania senator who, I don't know if he's calculating his next run and saw that his state is a light purple. I don't know if maybe he's courting. Are we looking at a potential courtship of Trump maybe coming to Pennsylvania and stumping for Fetterman if he's challenged by progressives as they're promising? He addressed this yesterday. He went on Hannity's show, and he was asked about Democrats threatening to take him out in a primary. Listen to this in number 35.
I really, I'm not afraid of telling the truth. As I've said, I'll be the Democrat that refuses to lie to the base and pretend that this is right. I'm proud to stand with Israel. I'm proud to say that we need to secure our border. I think it's entirely appropriate to bomb the Iranian nuclear facilities. And now I refuse to call my fellow citizens as they're fascists or Nazis or those things. I will agree also that we must keep our government open. And if somebody wants to primary me or the party wants to vote me out, it's like I'm going to go down being honest and telling you that this is wrong. To do these kinds of things, and I refuse to do that. I think we need to be a big tent party. That doesn't sound like it.
Now, here's another bit of news. Far-left Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas is eyeing a Senate run for next year's midterms. saying Wednesday that her victory would be karma for Republicans' proposed redistricting efforts in her state. If you want to take my seat of 766,000 away, I feel that there has to be karma in that to where I take your seat that is for 30 million away. Well, that's very articulate as usual. So that's my question for you, class. Will the Democrats be rewarded the Jasmine Crockett way, or do you think the John Fettermans of the day will? I just shared with you the story of Clinton loyalists telling El Jefe and Schumer, do not love up on Zoran Mandami in New York. Just stay out of it. Where do you think the Democrats are going to fall here, Ed? There's clearly an old guard wing still trying to hang on and warning them not to go full tilt progressive. Fetterman is speaking to that. Here come the Jasmine Crockett's and the Zoran Mamdanis and the AOCs. Who's going to win this fight?
I think the Zoran Mamdanis and the AOCs. I just do.
All right. We will keep a sharp eye and watch it with delight. Boy, that is a pretty shot. That almost looks AI generated. G-Love, is that real? Did you AI generate that? Are you creating new bump shots with AI?
Well, this is a live on site, a real shot, sir.
That's real. All right. G-Love says this is a real shot. If you're watching on the Salem News Channel, Ed, that doesn't look real. That's gorgeous. That's the sun coming up on Lower Manhattan there, the Brooklyn Bridge. Doesn't that look AI generated? That's gorgeous.
It does, man. It seems that there's still hope, right? Is that what that means?
That's right. The sun is coming up. The sun rises. It's the George Washington's chair at Independence Hall. Is that sun on the chair rising or setting? 970. The answer there in New York. New York. Thanks for listening. Where Zoran Mandami is leading in the polls. I don't know what that says exactly. I'll bring in somebody smarter than me that maybe can help us sort it all out. His name is John Hayward. He's the one of the deputy editors at Breitbart. He writes about all matters of national and international affair. And John, I don't know how you see the Zoran Mandami thing. I saw a poll yesterday, and I welcome you in. DeSantis shared it, of non-native New Yorkers, that is, people not born here in the United States. Cuomo leads. Of those who were born elsewhere, Mandami is leading by a lot. Is that the deal? Kind of the replacement of the American native is what's driving these elections?
I have no reason to doubt it. I've seen that poll as well. It seems like a well-researched poll, and it tracks. This is how this sort of thing happens. You give up control over your politics when you bring too many people in too quickly from outside the country, and when a lot of them are organized, when it's not just individual people here and there coming in, assimilating, becoming American, when it's large numbers of people that bring in their culture, their preferences, and they remain organized, they get strong enough to do things like this, to put their candidates in place, and there's enough people who are native-born New York who should support Mamdani to put him over the edge. It's not 100% one way or the other, but it is the decisive vote here is the foreign bloc, and that is a real factor here, and that's something everybody needs to think about. It's too late to think about it in some places that have been given over to become ethnic enclaves that have been brought in from other countries, and it's going to be a little disturbing if the financial capital of the world becomes one of those cities.
Where do you come down on the idea that somebody like a Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, who's not polling particularly well, where do you come down on the idea that he should get out of the way and get out of the race? Because if he did, that faction of support for him would go to Cuomo. And I've heard people like Eric Trump and others say, look, at this point, Cuomo's repellent, but he's certainly better than this guy, Mandami. Do you agree with that strategy or no?
It's really hard to tell somebody to just drop out of the race, especially when it is the other party. In the long run, is the Republican Party better off by pulling a maneuver like that and pushing Curtis Sliwa out of the race and getting Andrew Cuomo, the COVID killer, as New York mayor instead of Zoran Mamdani, the lunatic communist? I don't know that that's better for the Republican Party. It's better for the people of New York, certainly. But if they're determined to inflict Mamdani on themselves, I think we should let them do it. And I don't see why Curtis Sliwa has to sacrifice his platforms, his sincere run, all the work he's put into it, just to have a chance of putting Andrew Cuomo, of all people, in the mayor's office instead of Zoran Mamdani. I would not want to be the guy who tells my grandkids, yeah, I scuttled my presidential bid so the COVID killer could wind up being in charge of New York instead of the nutty communist. Why is it the Republican Party's responsibility to do that?
John Hayward, National Security Deputy Editor at Breitbart. He's on X, by the way, at Dr_0, and the O in zero is the actual digit 0 if you want to follow him, and you should, Dr_0. So, John, Vice President Vance is in Israel. There was, I guess, a dust-up. Hamas fired on Israel again earlier this week. Israel responded. So I don't think anyone really realistically believes that Hamas, as long as they exist. I saw Michelle Bachmann actually on a tear the other day saying Israel almost had Hamas extinguished. They almost completely had total control of Hamas in Gaza, and the United States got involved and told them, relent, pull back. And she was irritated about it. Is there anything to that? Should Israel have just finished the job, and should we have allowed it?
I don't think so. I think this was the right way to go. I think this peace plan is an achievement, a real achievement. And most importantly, more than whatever Hamas thinks about it, it's the Arab buy-in. It's Egypt, it's Turkey, it's Qatar, it's the Emirates, it's Saudi Arabia, all being behind the peace deal. And now all of them being on the hook for being the ones who have to go in and finish Hamas off if they won't play nice. And Trump has said that in just that many words, that it's going to be the Arab partners that are going to go in. And there's a strong implication there that if it's an Egyptian force that goes in and kills Hamas because they won't play ball with the peace deal, the United Nations is not going to accuse them of genocide. They're not going to face the kind of relentless media pressure that Israel does because they're not Jews. They're not Israel. And the media and the UN isn't going to care that they're killing people left and right in their zeal to get Hamas. So I think this was a necessary strategic setup for a final act that I hope nobody is surprised to see coming, where Hamas refuses to hold up its end of the peace deal and some kind of pan-Arab force has to go in there and be the ones that finish them off.
Do you believe that these surrounding Arab nations, these moderate Muslim nations, are they going to be able to bring Hamas to heel and actually develop Gaza in a way that it could be, that beautiful coastline, and really make it a commercial? I mean, is it too much to hope that that would become a commercial destination like the UAE and other places?
It's a big stretch, but it's not too much to hope. That's not crazy unrealistic to think it can be done once that area is politically stabilized. And absolutely, the Arab powers can bring Hamas to heel. If they cut off all of their support, if they aggressively go in after them with military forces and show no mercy, then yeah, I mean, Hamas is not invincible. They can be severely damaged. They can be destroyed. I've seen plans where one of the goals is to maybe segregate Gaza into areas, and one area becomes the protected, peaceful, no Hamas, beautiful place, and the other is a squalid crap hole that Hamas runs, and then maybe the Palestinians start voting with their feet to get away from Hamas. That's not a bad strategy either. Those things are realistic and doable. Heavy lifts, but realistic.
This drug boat strike, the 8th from the Trump administration, and they were really aggressive yesterday. Trump even went as far as to say, listen, if they don't knock it off, and he specifically targeted Colombia in his comments yesterday, but he said, I am perfectly willing to use military might on the ground, if I must, to deal with this drug trafficking. What of that? Because this is really the first that I remember hearing of it. I don't remember ever really Obama or Biden ever talking about this, but the drug problem is very important to President Trump, and he has talked about it at length for a long time.
Yeah, President Trump is very convinced that this is, in essence, a military assault, chemical warfare being perpetrated against the American people, and he's determined to respond with decisive force to stop it from happening. Those drug boats, whatever drugs they have on them, they have people on them too, and those people are cartel operatives. Those people are gangsters. They're muscle that we're planning to get into the United States. Some of them probably important people that are being liquidated here. That's part of how you fight a war. You make it so that nobody wants to send a drug boat across the Caribbean because there's a pretty good chance the Navy is going to destroy them. And eventually that changes the cost-benefit calculations of the cartels. I think it's crazy that it came to this, but it has come to this. Nothing else is going to slow down the supply of drugs to the United States. And I do think the White House needs to be very careful when it does this to lay out an ironclad case for why these individual ships are being targeted. And that means they're going to have to give up some intel, and they never like to do that. They don't want to compromise their methods or explain how they knew this was a drug boat because because that burns American methods, American sources. But by now they should know that every time they do this, they're going to be savagely attacked in the United States, and people are going to say this is wanted murder and you don't even know who they were, and it's all just a stunt. And the White House needs to be ready to parry that with some hard, cold information.
Yeah, Chris Murphy was already out there yesterday. So they're indiscriminately murdering people on the high seas, and it's But again, I'm not sure. As long as the White House continues to message that these are drug boats, I don't know how much sympathy the American people have. It's kind of like going to have margaritas with the guy in El Salvador, right? That didn't work. It seems to blow up in their face. But anyway, hey, just for a moment while we're on defense. Pete Hegseth last week, big dust up with the media, even some conservative media outlets packed their things and left the Pentagon, and now Axios reporting this morning, right-wing outlets converge on the Pentagon. Where did you come down on that? I know as a journalist at Breitbart, John Hayward, certain journalists, even of the right, seem to object to the Pentagon's requirement that you sign off on policy. Molly Hemingway and Sean Davis at the Federalist, for instance, they were not upset by it. They totally understood it, given the way the media has behaved in the past. So where do you come down on what the Pentagon did with the media?
I think those requirements were tougher, obviously, than they used to be, but they weren't that much different than the requirements to be a reporter on a military base. I don't see why the Pentagon shouldn't be operating under those rules. I would have signed them if I had been a journalist going there. And I think a lot of this is just more performative hysteria from the media. We need them there to do a job, and more of them should have been willing to take the requirements and do the job and complain about it if you don't like it and explain why it's bad. Sure, that's free speech. But at the end of the day, you need to be there doing the reporting. And if the lettered news networks won't do it, somebody else will. So, I mean, complaining it's a bunch of right-wing alternative outlets is pointless. If the mainstream press will not do its job, and all the way back to Biden's dementia, they've clearly signaled they're unwilling to do their jobs. If it politically compromises the Democratic Party, then alternative media will step in. And you lose your right to complain about who the alternative media is because you abandon the field.
John Hayward with us. Again, he is the National Security Deputy Editor at Breitbart. You've written about, and we talked with you the last time, about this new and first leader in Japan, first female leader in Japan. And you said that she's an admirer of Thatcher and that you think she intends to govern that way. Is that what you're finding so far?
Yeah, she's off to a good start. Her name is Takaichi Sine. She's the first female prime minister of Japan. Margaret Thatcher is her heroine. She used to dress like her, still does. Sometimes also admires Reagan conservatism. Gets along very well with Trump, I think, because her mentor, Abe Shinzo, was Trump's great friend who has passed on since then he was killed. And so I think there's going to be a good relationship there. Trump's going to be there next week. They're going to have their first meeting on Japanese soil. And I think it's the beginning of a good start for Japan. She's what the Japanese people needed in order to get their economy back on track, to get some cultural unity, and especially the thing that makes her controversial to globalist reporters, she's anti-migrant. She wants stricter immigration laws. She wants tourists to behave themselves when they're in Japan. She doesn't want large-scale importation of labor from other countries. Those are heresies to globalist media, but that is increasingly what the people of sane countries want, and the Japanese people are no different than anyone else in that regard. I wish her all the success in the world. She seems like a good leader, and I think she has a good chance to make some history.
You have written an extensive piece at Breitbart about this. This is, if you want really in-depth, solid analysis of things that are going on, both domestically and internationally, John Hayward is the place to go. He is Dr._0, and the O and 0 is the digit. On X, Dr._0, and then again at Breitbart, you can find John Hayward's work there. John, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for checking in with us today.
Always a pleasure for me too. Take care.
Good to be with you, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. We're looking at you today on the Salem News Channel. Thanks a lot for being along with us. We appreciate that you watch or that you listen throughout the great state of Oklahoma. 855 Stigall is our telephone number. The Turning Point folks are sending out the Ask Me Anything themed events, and they're sending out different high-profile folks to speak at them. I guess I know Megyn Kelly's gone out to do it. I guess Glenn Beck's gone out to do it. Last night, Tucker went out to do it, Tucker Carlson. And there was a tense moment back and forth between I don't exactly know the context of it. I just saw the clip this morning where a kid accuses him of being worth $50 million and thinks he's behaving oddly. is what the guy. To which Tucker got irritated and said, "I'm not worth $50 million. Get off the effing internet, son." Now, Ed, what makes that an interesting and ironic response from Tucker? Angrily telling a guy to get off the internet, son, about something he was accusing Tucker of that he didn't think was true. The irony in that is, of course, that's exclusively how Tucker makes his living now, isn't it?
Yes, and Tucker has never behaved that way. Even when confronted by hostile people in his face, he's never lashed out like that.
Yeah, a kid said you have $50 million, or you're worth $50 million, and he said, "Get off the effing internet, son," and told him to buzz off and get out of here. And I have seen many people point out, and I'll just say I completely agree, Charlie Kirk faced far worse than that and never responded that way. Now, listen, I don't pretend to suggest that I would go out and respond to people hostilely shouting at me in a calm and polite way. But I haven't been asked to go to Turning Point events either and do an Ask Me Anything event. If I did, I'll just say this, keeping with the spirit and tradition of Charlie Kirk, I would tell myself repeatedly, okay, no matter what comes at me, you got to stay calm. Scott Jennings said it, we were out in L.A. on Sunday with our great friends at AM 870. And I asked Jennings flat out, I said, you sit there and you have that excrement-eating grin on your face and you look dead in the camera while these leftists are just screaming you down. You've seen it, Ed, where he just sits there and smirks and they're screeching and yelling and going hysterical. And I said, how do you do it? And Scott said, because I know I got truth on my side. I don't need to get animated and scream and yell and take it personally. I know that I'm telling the truth, so I can stay calm. I don't need to get animated. They know they're not telling the truth. And I thought, boy, that's it. That's it. If your conscience is clean and clear and you know you're telling the truth, there's really no reason to get ratcheted up to an 11, no matter how vociferously someone is screaming at you, Ed. I mean, it's easier said than done, but that's the way Charlie did it.
Absolutely, right? For many years. And to be perfectly honest, Chris, I've never seen Tucker lash out like that, even at his most angriest.
Yeah, we're not going to play it because it's expletives, but he got his kid accused him of being super wealthy, and he got really mad and said, "Get off the effing internet, son, and sit down." Quite literally, the internet is Tucker Carlson's business model. Not that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but let's be honest, we've gone over this a lot. Clicks, downloads are exclusively what moves the needle in the world of Tucker Carlson and many, many others these days, because they've all created their own digital platforms, and good for them. God bless them. I wish them well. But sorry, we're in the new Wild West where anything goes for a click, right? You say, get off the internet, son? My friend, you're harnessing the internet. And I've seen the bowels of it, and it is nasty. And they are enthusiasts of yours, Tucker. So, how do I say this, Ed? Are you reaping a bit of what you sow?
Reaping what you sow, or have something to hide? Why are you defensive about any of that? I'd just be... If that were true, if I made $50 million per year, I'd be like, what of it, bro?
Well, yeah, that's it. Either, yes, I'm fabulously wealthy. I own that. So what? Or, that's absurd. I only wish I had $50 million would be my reaction to that. I mean, if somebody said, well, you're super rich. I mean, perfect example. In talking about Israel, the new throwaway line is, oh, so you got $7,000 for doing that, right? I go, boy, I'd love to show you my bank statement. And I would. I'd have you over to the house to show you my bank statement. I would love for you to get a forensic expert and show me where a $7,000 deposit has been made. Because it hasn't. And I'll take it, happily, incidentally. But, I've been telling you for some time, to Ed's point, I think it is perfectly fine for people to say whatever they want at all times. Let the Wild West of the internet sort it out, and you can decide whether you think it's true or not. I'm not here to censor or silence anyone. Marjorie Taylor Greene once said, well, I think that we should open the books and insist that everybody that has any kind of show, whether it's broadcast or whether it's digital, they should have to declare where their salaries and their income is coming from, especially if it's from foreign entities. And I said, sign me up. Show me where to sign. I'm completely transparent. I know exactly where my dollars come from. And I know I get fired if the commercial dollars don't come. That's it. I don't have independent wealth. And if somebody said, well, you're stupid, filthy rich, I would laugh in their face and go, I only wish I was. Just weird. Just weird. Hey, are you ready to drop serious weight before the new year? Yeah, come on. I'm talking about at least up to 20 pounds. I bet you can even lose more than that, but at least 20. PhD Weight Loss is the trick. They've cracked the code with their metabolic reset system. This is a science-backed method that gets your body to burn fat first. It's worked so well for me. I lost over 40 pounds in just 4 months' time. I feel fantastic. This program is so simple, guys. They tell you exactly when to eat. They tell you what to eat. I'm the kind of guy, just tell me what to do. I don't want to think about it. Just tell me what to do. That's what they do. They customize the program to your body's needs and your specific schedule. PhD Weight Loss is the only program that guarantees success and your results. No starving, no endless workouts, no risky drugs. Just a smarter system that resets your metabolism. It shrinks that dangerous belly fat. It keeps the weight off, most importantly, for good. Now, when you call, if you do it today, they're going to waive your consultation fee. You'll get 2 extra weeks totally free, and they'll cover the cost of your food during the program. And just for booking, you're going to get Dr. Ashley Lucas's book, 5 Steps to Reset the Scale. It's quite a deal. But you got to do it quickly because this offer is only good until the end of October. Come on, lose weight with me. Call now. Mention the code New Year. Call 864-644-1900 and mention that code New Year. 864-644-1900 or visit the website myphdweightloss.com. 864-644-1900 or myphdweightloss.com. MyPillow is excited to announce they're having their biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you're not going to find anywhere else. MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88, any color, any style, and any size, even the king size. Regularly priced at $119.98, now only $29.88. Once they're gone, though, they're gone for good. My towels are finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regularly priced at $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time, and the only time, get their limited edition premium My Pillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queens starting at $17.98, kings at $19.98. And for a limited time, when you order over $100, you'll receive free shipping plus $100 in free digital gifts. 800-932-5056, promo code Chris, or use that promo code at mypillow.com, promo code Chris. Oh boy, look out. Look out. Here he comes. Hey, good morning, folks. Welcome in to the Thursday edition of the Stigall Show. Hour 3. If you missed the previous 2, you missed some good ones, but don't despair. You can catch the entire show every day on the podcast. If you don't subscribe to the podcast, you should. Because not only can you catch up, but sometimes we throw some extra stuff out there that we won't air here, so you can go to chrisstigall.com and get signed up for the podcast and follow along on social media. Hope that you do. Love to see you there. The Harumph Society, my 3 times a week newsletter, is out as well every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll have a new edition tomorrow. So there are 2 races very specifically many people are keeping their eyes on. I mean, I know a lot of people are talking about what's going on in New York and this lunatic Mandami that looks favored to win right now. Much, much closer, though, in the states of Virginia and the Garden State of New Jersey. Here to discuss specifically what's going on the ground in New Jersey is Kate Gibbs. She's the executive director of the New Jersey GOP. Ms. Gibbs, glad to have you here. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, the state of play right now for people that don't live in New Jersey, we're getting kind of mixed messaging depending on what network you watch, right? I mean, some of them are making it sound like Jack Ciattarelli is trailing. Some make it sound like he's within striking distance. What's the reality of the ground game right now?
So what we've been seeing in the polls consistently is that this is a dead heat race. And what we're feeling on the ground is an amazing amount of energy and enthusiasm for Jack Ciattarelli, but also there's an anger in the air. People are saying they want a change. They don't think that New Jersey's on the right track. They've had 8 years of Phil Murphy, one-party rule in Trenton. The legislature's been controlled by the Democrats for 25 years, and we're hearing everywhere we go, people want change, and they're ready to vote for Jack Ciattarelli for governor and our full slate of assembly candidates and other down-ballot races.
I have many friends who, maybe they live in Pennsylvania. They've got a second home, maybe a shore home in South Jersey. And having spent many a vacation in South Jersey myself, the cost of doing business, the cost of home ownership in New Jersey is so stunningly high. Taxation is so stunningly high. And people always ask me, maybe you have a better answer. I don't really ever have an answer for it. Why do Garden State residents continue to reward people that just tax them to death? Do you think they've hit a breaking point now in that?
I do. You can feel it in the air. There's really something different, but we've pushed, the elected officials in Trenton, Phil Murphy and the Trenton Democrats, have really created a perfect storm situation here in New Jersey where we can't afford our property taxes. Young families can't get started and buy a new home. Senior citizens want to stay here and see their grandkids be raised, and they're being forced out. Our energy prices are through the roof because of crazy green policies and basically banning natural gas that has made our rates go through the roof. And then the Democrats that are running now are doubling down on the exact same policies that got us here with all of these unaffordability issues. And it just, I can't believe from what we're hearing out in the field about the anger, about the desire for change. I just believe that we're going to get that change on November 4th when Jack Ciattarelli is elected governor.
We had Mr. Ciattarelli on the show during his first run, and he came in with just within a whisker of toppling Phil Murphy the last time. I assume he felt then empowered and emboldened to jump back in and try it again. What makes this different, or what did he learn, do you think, from that race into this one?
Well, Jack is the hardest working candidate I've ever seen. And I've done professional politics for close to 20 years now. He is incredible, moves up and down the state, talks to anybody, takes any question. And yeah, he got incredibly close last time around in 2021 when nobody believed us, that the polls were showing we were neck and neck. But this year, we've improved on every single measure. We've closed the voter registration gap by hundreds of thousands. It was over 1 million last time in 2021. It's now about 850,000, which is still a lot, but it's improved significantly. Our ground game is better this time around. Previously we were still in that weird COVID world. So now we're able to do, right now NJGOP is embarking on the largest grassroots operation that this state has ever seen to support the Ciattarelli ticket and all the Republican candidates on the ballot, knocking on 1 million doors, making millions of phone calls that are live volunteer calls, attending rallies, holding events, business stops. Again, that the energy on the ground is just so tremendous. There's just a ton of differences from where we were 4 years ago. And all of them are positive signs that I think give us a lot of confidence that this time we're going to get it over the line.
Kate Gibbs with us, Executive Director of the New Jersey GOP. I will tell you that in all of the time that I've covered different political events and political rallies, last May, I will never forget in Wildwood, New Jersey, the biggest Trump rally that I'd ever personally seen, outdoors. Tens of thousands, some estimates put it at darn near, upwards of near 100,000 people came out on the beaches of Wildwood and just packed to see Donald Trump. I know Jack was there at that event. The reason I bring that up is if you're in South Jersey, you would think that New Jersey was a red state. It's a different place, I know, as you go north, but it's the robust passion for a change in South Jersey is very real. People should know that. I mean, Jeff Van Drew, who represents that chunk of the state in Congress, of course, flipped parties famously.
Yeah, and I'm a South Jersey girl. I grew up in Haddon Township, New Jersey, which is right outside of Philadelphia. And so, us South Jerseyans have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder and feel like we get, a little bit less attention and credit than our North Jersey neighbors. But there's been really significant demographic changes in South Jersey. The South Jersey Democrat machine has really controlled a huge part of Democratic politics in New Jersey for a long time. But you are seeing that these policy failures, right, have woken people up. And these are families that they want to go to work, provide a good life for their kids, send their kids to excellent schools, have safety in their communities. And these crazy left-wing policies that the Trenton Democrats have put in place have just really changed the character of our state. What we're seeing in a lot of communities with forced overdevelopment that are coming from mandates in Trenton, it's changing the character of these really great little towns and municipalities throughout New Jersey. And again, I think people are kind of at their breaking point and are saying, I've had enough. I want to change. New Jersey's on the wrong track, and we got to vote for something different.
Well, I tell you, with some whacked out leftist governor coupled with potentially now this whacked out lunatic Marxist mayor coming to New York, that's for North Jersey neighbors, yikes. I mean, that's like a lab recipe for disaster coming, sounds to me.
Yeah, it's scary that, somebody who's a self-proclaimed socialist is about to become, the mayor of New York City. And I just hope that the people of New York wake up and come out and vote a different way. But here in New Jersey, Phil Murphy has famously said many times during his governorship, I want to make New Jersey the California of the East Coast. And with all these crazy policies that they've implemented, they're darn near close. But the thing that they can't take away is that New Jerseyans are New Jerseyans, right? And so we've got the will and the grit and the perseverance, and we're going to fight. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to work our tails off between now and Election Day to make sure that we turn out the vote to support Republican candidates up and down the ballot and get Jack Ciattarelli elected governor.
Kate Gibbs with us, Executive Director of the New Jersey GOP. Of course, everybody is always on edge about election integrity, rightly so. From what I read, Harmeet Dillon, Civil Rights Division of the DOJ, has been contacted about certain counties in Virginia and the vote count, the early vote. What's your strategy to protect the integrity of early voting, which goes on forever before actual election day in New Jersey?
It does. So protect the vote and election integrity efforts has been a huge focus for the NJGOP. We're working hand in hand with the RNC. Again, I've been working in New Jersey politics for a long time now. I've never seen the RNC this organized, this invested here in New Jersey and working in that direct partnership. And most of their efforts have really focused around the election integrity efforts. And so we have 3 NJGOP regional election integrity directors working with 2 RNC election integrity directors, and they coordinate everything from making sure that we have poll worker parity, which is by law mandated that you're supposed to have representation of Democrats and Republicans to run the elections out at the polling places, making sure that we have Republican challengers, an election attorney program to make sure that we have attorneys on the ground during early voting and on election day, as well as when vote by mail ballots are counted, making sure we have attorneys at courthouses to argue for provisional ballots in case any Republicans are disenfranchised at their polling location. So we have a really broad strategy to make sure that we're putting everything in place ahead of early voting and ahead of election day. But what we're seeing in some counties is a lot of pushback. And, there's the old saying that, sunlight is the best disinfectant. We're trying to put simple transparency measures in place because this shouldn't be a partisan issue, right? Transparency in our elections so that we can have confidence. It shouldn't be a partisan issue. Everybody should say, yeah, transparency is a good thing. Accountability in our elections is a good thing. And so as we're finding, that pushback, we had a Republican Board of Elections commissioner in Passaic County who insisted on putting some very simple common sense measures on the Board of Elections agenda. And the 2 Democratic Board of Elections commissioners voted it down, including one of those Board of Elections commissioners is the Democrat county chairman. So you see how it starts to paint a picture, right?
Kate, I got to wrap, but I'm glad you guys are on it, and we will continue to stay on it too. Kate Gibbs with the New Jersey GOP. Thank you, ma'am. More in a minute. Good to have you here. Looking at Gaylord, Michigan this morning. 40 degrees, a little blustery out there. Beautiful shot. It's our backyard cam. G-Love, our technical director, called up one of his relatives in Gaylord, Michigan and said, can we mount a camera there in your majestic backyard? And they said yes. They got a nice snowman pumpkin decoration up there, a goose decorated in a pumpkin. You should know about the executive producer of this program. Nobody lives for Halloween like Fast Eddie lives for Halloween. You live for it. This is your Christmas. You like this better than Christmas, Halloween.
This is no joke, Chris. This is the time of year. It's the best.
I just read today that, in fact, despite all the complaining, and I've seen many reports, the media is trying to whip people up about candy prices as well as costume prices. Apparently, they're projecting record profits for companies that both manufacture candies, confections, and costumes. Record profits. It's not slowing anybody down, despite what may be inflation or tariffs or whatever they're trying to blame out there. It's not stopping people from spending money on Halloween. Fast Eddie, has it stopped you?
It hasn't, actually. No, I got to do. I got to. If there's any effort I got to put into my life and the people in it, I have to. We've done the biggest Halloween party since '07. We've had the biggest group of friends that now have kids that we do something called Fall Day. Been doing that since 2013. My wedding was on October 27th. I have to do this right every year, so no matter the cost.
Wow. You're willing to go all out no matter the cost to keep the tradition alive.
Yep.
That is big. That's commitment. Well, a happy Halloween to those of you who celebrate. This is the story. Costume sellers and candy merchants anticipating record high revenue this Halloween. The National Retail Federation projects that U.S. spending on Halloween will surge to a record high of $13.1 billion this year, up from $11.6 billion last year and the previous peak of $12 billion recorded in 2023. That includes expected increases in consumers splurging on candy, decorations, costumes, and greeting cards. Spending per person jumps by nearly $11. The average person, they say, spends on Halloween, does this sound right, Ed? $114.45. That's the average spend per person on Halloween. You probably spend well past that.
Ooh, yeah, I'm past there. Yeah, unfortunately.
Roughly 3 in 4 Americans celebrating again this year, which tells us the holiday has real cultural staying power even as prices bite, says the National Retail Federation. Halloween and Costume Association, that's a thing. Maybe that'll work out for you, Ed, if the show collapses. The Halloween and Costume Association. How's that
sound? I'll look at my resume, see if it matches up.
It's always, hey, listen, in our business, you always got to keep your options open. Tariffs have increased the price of bargain basement children's witch or ghost costumes from $19.99 last year to $39.99 this year. Simple goblin masks, priced at $4.99 a year ago, now cost $9.99 or more, according to the trade group. Due to ongoing tariffs, the cost of Halloween products has risen significantly compared to the previous years. Well, I don't know. It's not stopping people from buying it, is the point. And as far as candy goes, specifically chocolate, an interesting thing about it is apparently all the cocoa beans out there, they're having terrible crops. Like there's a terrible shortage on cocoa. The reason chocolate is going through the roof is because apparently there's been, the conditions have been terrible for wherever it is they grow cocoa beans and harvest them. I was just reading that the other day. Speaking of tariffs and revenue, Scott Bessent, sit there, take it, don't retaliate. Number 25, if you please, had this to say about revenue pouring in and taking a victory lap on the deficit coming down.
Contrary to what everyone said, we had for the fiscal year last year, we had a lower deficit than we did the previous fiscal year. And it's as Warren Buffett says, when people ask him, how do you lose weight? You eat less, exercise more. How do you control the budget deficit? You spend less or control spending and grow more. And you're Mr. Growth. So if we can keep the spending flat to down and grow at least a nominal 5%, maybe higher, then our deficit to GDP, it ended the fiscal year with a 5 in front of it, down from the 6.4, 6.5, which was the worst when we weren't in a recession, weren't at war. And I think we could make substantial progress again. And I would hope we could be in the low 5s or something with a 4 in it for next year.
All right, that's Treasury Secretary Street Tough Scott Bessent. Sit there, take it. I know what I'm doing. Don't screw around with me. Glad you're here. Live look at Salem, Massachusetts. No, I can't confirm that our parent company, Salem, and the Salem News Channel, I don't know that they share ties in any way. There is no, people have asked me that before, if Salem, Massachusetts has anything to do with the company, Salem, Fast Eddie. I actually can't claim to know where Ed Atzinger, our founder, came up with the name Salem as a company. I should ask. I'm new enough here, I haven't found that out yet. Do you know the heritage of the name Salem?
Ooh, I don't.
Our company?
Unfortunately not, but I know it's not related in any way to Salem, Massachusetts. That place is that is a leftist hub, man.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure our founder, Ed Atzinger, would not be vacationing or summering in Salem, Massachusetts. That much I feel pretty confident in saying. I do know immediately after the show I'm going to have 10 or 20 corporate heads calling me who want to get my mind right about where Salem comes from. So I probably count on that. I'll regret even saying that out loud. Our telephone number, 855-STIGAL, if you want to get in here. The Obama team thinks that they're going to come riding into the rescue and help in New Jersey and Virginia. Apparently, this is how tight it is and how concerned they are. The one feels he's going to have to come off the couch and come help. So he's going to head to New Jersey and try to help Mickey Mouse there with her campaign. And then I guess he's going to run to Virginia and try to help Abigail Spanberger, who is in a neck-and-neck race with Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor of Virginia, and Mika Brzezinski over there on the Nerd Prom King and Queens, MSNBC, the Morning Joe program. She's out there making big excuses for Spanberger. I thought she was the heir apparent to this seat. I thought she couldn't be beaten. And now they're already making excuses for her out there. Number 21. Give this one to me, if you would, please, Paul.
It really is incredible when you have Abigail Spanberger, Miki, Sherrill, her background, all the different jobs that she has held in the military, and also like Alyssa Slotkin. Yeah. I mean, my God, these women are incredible. And to them, I would say, fight, because we need them.
Yeah.
We need them leading.
And Mikey is like, she's doing a ton of interview. You know, when I talked to that, when I was in the car, you know, it was this car, she had gone from interview to interview to talk to, but you know, you still see the anxiety.
Yeah, Sherrill did have a few missteps in her campaign, but she still has, as you say, about a 5 or 6 point lead per polling. Spanberger's lead in Virginia a little bigger than that, but you know, both still competitive races here heading into the last couple of weeks. But to Mika, to Molly's point, I mean, this is something that a lot of Democrats are grappling with right now. Is they've nominated women 2 of the last 3 elections for the presidency, lost both. There are some who say, well, we can't do that again. The stakes are too high. But of course, that does fall into the same misogynistic trap.
Other countries have no problem electing women.
So are they saying in a 2-woman race, Abigail Spanberger, if she loses, it's because she's a woman, even though Winsome Sears is also a woman? Is that right, Ed?
That's exactly how I heard it. It's as if that they're saying Winsome Sears is not a woman.
There are literally 2 women. That's all that can win. Only a woman can become the next governor of Virginia. That is what we know for a fact. And they just made this lengthy case on Morning Joe that misogynists won't elect a woman?
Apparently. Yeah.
Holy crow. Lunatics, a lot of them. Anyway, our telephone number, 855-STIGAL. Speaking of lunatics, if I don't address this one quickly, I looked up this morning on cable news, and I'm trying to find it because I had it earlier and now I lost it. And I wanted to bring it up because I don't think I'll ever talk about it again. I saw a guy taking off his shirt and it said candidate, main candidate, not a Nazi or no Nazi tattoo or some such thing. They're taking off shirts on television, Fast Eddie, to prove that they're not Nazi tattoos. Have you seen this guy?
I have, yeah.
The Democrat Party has spent the better part of a decade, this from Amy Curtis at Town Hall, spent the better part of a decade finding Nazi dog whistles in the most innocuous places, including blue jeans ads featuring Sydney Sweeney. If you ask them, they'll gladly tell you that Republican presidents from Ronald Reagan to Donald Trump are just like Hitler. Robert De Niro thinks Trump advisor Stephen Miller, a Jew, is a Nazi. Back when President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth for Secretary of War, the left made a big point of claiming his Christian tattoos were actually symbols of white supremacy. And you guessed it, Nazism. But suddenly, Nazi imagery doesn't seem to matter quite so much to Democrats. Now that a guy called Graham Plattner has jumped in the race, he's a Democrat running to unseat Susan Collins in Maine, and he revealed that, yes, he in fact does have a rather large Nazi symbol tattooed on his chest. Ed, this is for real, and he's admitting it.
Yes.
In Maine.
Yes, he is. He has a real Nazi tattoo. It's covered up now, but he has a real one.
Plattner's excuse was that he was inebriated on shore leave, and Democrats have spent the past 48 hours dismissing this tattoo as just troublesome ink and a distraction from his campaign. And so he literally is going on shows like this, only Democrat shows, and he's taking off his shirt to show the viewers of the show that he, in fact, did cover up the Nazi tattoo, but fully admits, yes, I did. I got drunk, and I put a Nazi tattoo on my chest. But look, and he rips off his shirt, I've covered it up. So, bygones, are we good? Would that ever, again, I know hypocrisy never sticks to the left, but let's just have it out for a second. If Pete Hegseth came forward and said, yes, in fact, I tattooed a Nazi thing on my chest, but I've covered it up since, so can we move past it? Do you think he'd be Secretary of War today?
No, they'd be doing documentaries 20 years from now on the political culture, and he'd be a prominent image in all of that if that were the case.
Plattner's excuse was that he was inebriated and on shore leave. It's one thing to think you're getting the Chinese character for peace tattooed on your bicep. It's quite another to get a literal Nazi skull inked on your chest, they write at Town Hall. As to the comment about excrement posting online, Democrats spent years pushing cancel culture on those young men. An authentic working-class party would not want to be represented by someone like Plattner and his Nazi tats. Then again, talking about the trans girl, skipping ahead here, but sorry, I'm not going to get into the weeds on this whole thing. But anyway, voters see that, and they know this is more than just a skeleton in his closet, is the way she summarizes. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip past it all, but that's the nuts and bolts of it from Amy Curtis at Town Hall. This kook is up there, and he's taking off his shirt. Graham Plattner, the Democrat candidate for Senate in Maine. Yes, it is a Nazi tattoo, but it's because I was drunk. And I've covered it up since. Look! We're doing bare-chested interviews, Ed, running for the United States Senate.
So what do you think is worse, taking your shirt off to prove that you're not a Nazi, or being prevented from doing the moonwalk as to not cultural appropriate? So we have Ralph Northam go through the...
Well, you know what? I'm glad you reminded me of this, because we do have Hall of Fame political moments, and I think that this is right up there. Ralph Northam offering to do, you're right, said, just put a little shoe polish on my... Admitting that he liked to paint himself up. And then he was explaining away the fact that he wore blackface because he entered a Michael Jackson contest. And then while answering the question, were you wearing blackface? He said, yes, but just for a Michael Jackson contest, and I'm really good at the moonwalk. Would you like me to demonstrate it here? And he was serious. He was about to walk in front of his podium and do the moonwalk for the press, who was asking him, you've been in blackface in your college yearbook. His wife smartly grabbed him and said, not now, Ralph. I don't think that's a good idea now. There was Mark Sanford of South Carolina, who got all humpy with a girlfriend and took off and was having an affair, and they couldn't find him for days when he was governor of South Carolina. And then the press started asking, where the hell's the governor? And they said, he's hiking in the mountains, the Appalachians. and there was no record of him going anywhere. And then it turned out his chief of staff was just running cover for him because he was in flagrante delicto with some babe, some Argentinian babe, who was a media member. He then holds a press conference and professes his undying love to her. Of course, there's the foot tapping moment, too. I am not gay. I never have been gay. Larry Craig, I believe was his name, the guy that was tapping the foot in the bathroom. But you're right. In the annals of political nonsense history, this one might be right up there. Ed, I'm glad you reminded me. Now entered into the Political Fall from Grace Hall of Fame, Graham Plattner, doing his interviews bare-chested to prove that his once Nazi skull tattoo has been covered over. So, congratulations, Graham Plattner, entering the Political Fall from Grace Hall of Fame. No, seriously, the Nazi tattoo's gone. Look.
Oh. We should invite him on the show. Hey, will you take your shirt off? Can we see the Nazi tattoo?
Just unbelievable. I can't even believe it. I can't believe it. So Obama, anyway, my point is they're sending Obama in now into New Jersey and into Virginia. They're going they think he's going to help these two babes. Miki, whatever the hell her name is, Abigail. So the black guy has to come in to rescue the white ladies. You follow? How do you like that, girls? Now, I thought Mika just said girl power and all of this. Why do they need the black guy to come in and tell the white ladies how to run their campaign? You explain that to me, Ed?
Well, that's when America overcame racism and elected Obama twice, so now they have to overcome misogyny. That's the next hurdle.
John Fetterman, though, he's given interviews saying, I am not with my party, not at all, on this shutdown business. Give me number 33.
Hi, here we are, and our government remains closed. And I think that's failure. And I'm the guy that's going to consistently vote for country over party. I'm always going to vote for paying our military over the party. I'm always going to vote for paying the Capitol Police over my party. And I'm going to continue to fight for the 2 million Pennsylvanians that depend on SNAP to feed themselves. And I'm also going to fight for the same 400,000 Pennsylvanians that depend on those tax credits to make health insurance more affordable. Two things are true, and now we can fight for all of them as long as our government is open. My vote is going to remain firmly on keeping our government open, and I'm going to continue to fight.
Okay, that's John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, one of the Democrats that they want rid of in the midst of all of this mess. Maybe if he took off his shirt. More Halloween decorations in Ada, Ohio. Are we just tapping into people's Blink cameras now? Is that legal, G-Love? Or do we need to get an attorney? I feel like now we're spying on people's private property, our camera. That seems dangerous. Do we need to hire an attorney? We'll be fine? Okay.
Yes.
That's our technical director, G-Love, now tapping into people's private security cameras, Ed. Is that advisable, that we're looking into people's lawns?
Oh, my gosh. No.
Let's go to Pam and George. No, Pam's gone already. All right, well, that's okay. That's okay. Glad to have her along. You know, not for nothing, but prices, while we were talking about candy going through the roof, I was bragging to Ed a couple of days ago. At my local gas station, I maintain points. Every time I go shopping at my local gas station or I get a gallon of gas or something, I get points on the card. Everybody gets points, right? You go to the grocery store, you get points. They all have the point tracker thing.
Absolutely.
At my particular gas station, gas was at $2.59. $2.59. I used my points card, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to Eddie. I got my gasoline all the way down, 20 gallons, a penny a gallon. I paid 20 cents for 20 gallons of gas, Ed, the other day.
That's just amazing. I don't know how.
That's Trump's America.
That is Trump's America. Rewards programs that allow you to pay 20 cents for an entire tank of gas.
20 cents. I laughed. I haven't enjoyed buying gas like that maybe ever. I was giddy. I was sharing the picture with everybody I knew. 20 cents for 20 gallons of gas. Monkeypox is back. 3 California residents have been infected with monkeypox, a more severe strain of this virus. They're not calling it monkeypox anymore, by the way. They call it Clade 1 Mpox or some such thing. Why don't they call it monkeypox anymore? It's the first time this type of monkeypox has spread within the United States. The unrelated cases identified in Long Beach, California, and Los Angeles, where I just was. Good Lord, maybe I should go to the doctor now. No, I doubt it's likely that I'll come down with monkeypox. I doubt it's likely, Ed, you'll come down with monkeypox. I doubt it's likely my daughter, my wife, any of you ladies will come down with monkeypox. You know why?
Pretty specific.
Because
reason.
It's a very specific disease. It's a very specifically passed disease, and you may not know that. The presence of Clade 1 needs careful evaluation, says Seth Bloomberg, an associate professor of medicine at the University of California, San Francisco's Division of Infectious Diseases. Of course. So they went to the infectious disease study at San Francisco in the University of California. I don't think the historical results we've seen from Africa are directly translatable, but we need to monitor these cases closely. And it goes on and on and on, and then finally it says, anyone can contract monkeypox through close physical contact, including sex. Well, now that's odd, because the last time monkeypox came out as a story, Ed, I could swear there was a specific group that they said kept coming down with monkeypox. Can you remind me, darn it? I can't remember. Wasn't there a specific group of people?
It was specifically men who have sex with other men.
That's right. Oh, thank you. That's what it was. Well, rest assured now, The Guardian reports that anybody now, we don't even call it monkeypox anymore, anybody can catch it. Past outbreaks have primarily affected gay and bisexual and transgender people who have sex with men, but we're pretty sure now that's all gone now. We don't have any conclusive evidence to back that up. Monkeypox is spread by men having sex with other men. That's it. That's all. That's the only established cases. That's the only way it's been transmitted, and they're just flatly lying in this Guardian piece. It's back in Southern California. There are new cases of it. And while we used to think it was just from men having sex with men, we're pretty sure now it's just coming in physical contact with anybody that has it. That's not true. That isn't true. It's pretty easy. Avoid sodomy and don't get monkeypox. Put that on a bumper sticker, Ed. Trans Americans are fleeing the country due to the most anti-LGBTQ plus president ever. Why did I see Rosie O'Donnell? Didn't she say, oh, that reminds me before I forget. Talking about LGBTQ people fleeing the country. You know, Rosie is threatening a buy-cott. Apparently the economy is doing quite well. Just in case you didn't know, Rosie thinks we're doing too well over here, so she's going to do She posted this on X yesterday. We're not asking, we're shutting it down. Mass blackout, November 25th through December 2nd. Eddie, if you want to get your Christmas shopping done early, may I recommend you hit the streets or take your wife out to eat or go do anything you want to do out of doors. November 25th through December 2nd, the American left, led by Rosie, are apparently leading the largest economic blackout protest in U.S. history. Beginning November 25th. No work, no spending, no restaurants, no projects, no events, no restaurants, no backing out. Prepare for the impact, she says.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So she wants to ruin the economy. No one should participate in it. I would say to every conservative, that's the window of time to go out and enjoy yourselves at full volume. So that's a wrap for another Chris Stigall Show podcast. Thanks for committing to it, listening to it all the way through. You're a fighter. I like that about you. Hope you'll leave it a 5-star review and a written review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We'll see you next time here on the Chris Stigall Show podcast.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.